The French freedom fighters come out once again to protest against Emmanuel Macron's government and the health passports, and you won't believe what the British mainstream media did. I am going to talk about the British mainstream media in a second, but let's just talk about the facts. It's been weeks, and the people in France have been quite consistent. And actually, for once, you know how we always joke about every time there's a protest in France? Well, every time there's a tiny policy change in France, people come out and burn all the cars. Because that's just how the French protest. They're just used to revolutions. This time, actually, pretty, as the left say, largely peaceful. A massive march. Mainly because the people who are now coming out on the streets, these are the people who normally don't do marches. They don't really come out to do random protests for the sake of it. They're not anarchists in that sense. But there's a wide kind of coalition of different groups. People who to look at the surface, they just assume all the global protests are all the same. But when it comes to like lockdown and things like this, but actually they are quite slightly different. In France, the specific issue is the health passport, but also just Emmanuel Macron as a whole. Look at this video, because this is tens of thousands of people who came out on the streets yesterday and today. That goes on for another minute. But one of the important points about what's happened this weekend in Paris and other cities in France is the mainstream media in Britain, who until now have been avoiding any coverage of what happens in France and other countries. They covered it, and they actually covered it. They properly sent a reporter. And I watched a bit of it. It was pretty impartial for Sky News, like for the standards of Sky News. It was pretty okay. And the coverage was substantial-ish. So I'm fine with it. I'm not going to praise them. I'm not going to say, the Sky News and the mainstream media are not completely fix all the problems they had, the culture of media in this country. No. It's still chaotic, but it's still a good start that they have been forced. The credit should go to the people in France and us. We have forced them to cover it. It's been so embarrassing that they have no choice but to cover these protests, who yesterday, for example, in France, massive rain, and people still came out with their umbrellas. Sea of umbrellas, and it was beautiful to actually see how these people are actually just trying to get their voices heard. Whether you agree or disagree, you need to support the democracy of France. I'm not really sure what's happening with Emmanuel Macron right now, but if he really wants to win the next election, he needs to change certain things, like what he's just done now. We just heard that the last couple of days, the protests in France and the pressure on Macron has now forced him to make a U-turn on his travel ban when it comes to the UK citizens. So he basically banned British citizens from going to France. I was supposed to be going to Paris in 2 days' time. Can't now, because obviously I had to make changes a couple of days ago. I didn't know today he's gonna make a U-turn on Sunday, but so that's happened. But it's good, because we have put the pressure on him and his government to make this U-turn. And it's also funny, every time I hear these travel bans from France and other countries, makes me remember when Trump in 2016 said, well, we should have a travel ban, including 6 very specific countries that happen to be in the Middle East. He said that we need a travel ban because these governments don't cooperate with us when it comes to vetting people coming from those countries. And then the left went crazy. Oh, well, he just wants a travel ban for people with brown skin color. Shh, calm down. Now you're all in favor of Emmanuel Macron's travel ban. That's fine, yeah? Because, Anglo-Saxons don't matter as much. So this is the reality. But it's still a bit of a good news, because the pressure is working. Keep up the good fight, solidarity, and whatever the left-wing people say. We are winning the fight. Thanks to you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.